Hello and welcome back to Fred in the Shed. We're back up in the Radio Shack and another little PMR radio to look at on this video sent in by RETEVIS. Recently you'd have noticed I've been doing a lot of these dark side PMR radios, which are very good, very programmable, but of course these are not legal to use in the UK. If you want to stay legal, you need a genuine PMR radio with a fixed antenna and half a watt output. This is RETEVIS's latest radio. It's mainly aimed at the great outdoors. It's a very tough radio, has this armoured rubberized defence all the way around the outside. It's more than a coating, it's quite thick. You can stick your thumb into it and that should survive quite a drop. Maybe we'll do a drop test when we go outside, but the whole thing is for the great outdoors. It's waterproof, IP64 I believe, so completely waterproof, and it just has that kind of rugged sort of feel to it. All of the buttons have a nice rubberized coating, and what I like on this radio, and I've sort of noticed this straight away, is you have a dual push to talk button, standard one on the side there, but you have a really nice big chunky one in the middle of the radio. And I imagine if you're wearing work gloves, you won't have to take your gloves off. You'll be able to operate the radio with gloves. And I mean, likewise, even if you're not a workman, if you're an outdoors type, you do things like gardening, you wear gardening gloves, you want to keep in contact with the indoors of the house, again with some like gardening gloves, you'll be able to operate this radio without removing your gloves. Let's have a quick look what we get in the box, and then we'll have a closer look at the menu options of the radio. So it comes with two radios, which is good to see. Very nice large set of instructions. You know what I'm like with instructions. A lot of these instructions are getting micro small, but I can read these no problem without my reading glasses, I'll say. So yeah, it takes you through all of the options of the radio. It's not too complicated, to be perfectly honest. Fairly sort of standard nowadays what you get in a radio. Also in the box we have a very nice charging base with dual LEDs indicators there, USB-C port on there, so we haven't got to worry about Euro plugs. I can't say foreign plugs because someone took offence on the last video, so we don't have to worry about non-UK plugs. Just a standard USB-C, yes, and it does come with USB-C lead. Okay, and that's got dual output. So when we have a closer look at the radio, obviously we can charge in the back of the radio as well, so we don't have to use the charging base. But you get the two handsets, so you get a matching pair, as you would expect at this price point. What else we got? A belt clip. Yeah, quite a nice belt clip as always. Nice to see a metal pin and metal bracket. I think someone commented on another video and said, well, you know, why are you spending such time looking at the belt clip? Well, because if that was made all out of plastic and if that snaps, that really reduces the functionality of the radio. It's really bloody annoying. So it's nice to see, yes, a decent belt clip. And then we have a couple of wrist lanyards, quite useful if you want to use those. Right, anyway, let's have a closer look at the radio. You have the standard 16 legal PMR channels, then you have the additional subcodes, which are called privacy codes. If you don't know what they are, basically the idea is when the radio has the same channel and that has the same subcode, they will only communicate with each other. If there's someone else on the frequency, they will not be able to interfere with your conversation. That gives you a degree of privacy. However, if they have their subcodes switched off, it's wide open, they will be able to hear your transmission. So you have to be careful that they can hear you, but you can't hear them. As far as the volume goes, nice to see that the radio has a manual analog volume control. I do prefer these. It would be nice, I know you've got a headphone socket there, it would be nice if they could have fitted maybe a channel select knob there as well, like on some of the Bowphones. Maybe would have preferred that. It is a bit of a flap to change channel, to be honest, because you would expect, you've got the up and down button there, and you would expect that just to instantly change the channel, but it doesn't. You do have to press that menu button first. I suppose it stops you changing channel by mistake, But yeah, it's a little bit more involved than I would like. Looking on the side of the radio, as I say, we have the rubberized PTT, the up and down control button. There's no programmable buttons in this side of the radio. Menu buttons around the outside, we'll just check those out in a minute. Big PTT button on this side. And then we have a USB-C charging port, which is quite handy, so you don't have to use the base stations if you're out and about. Very thick rubberized door there to give it the IP64 rating. No program port, so not one that you're going to use maybe in chirp or anything like that. It is quite basic. And then on the back, nice to see that the battery compartment is well screwed down. Again, that's for the waterproofing, and then there's your belt clips there, lanyard attachment there. And I say on top, headphone socket on top, just looks like a standard 3.5. Well, it's 2.5 actually. Okay, so it's a 2.5mm port, so you will need to buy a dedicated earpiece possibly, or an adapter to just use headphones, and then the on-off volume control. So as I mentioned, there is a vibration alert, which is quite useful if you have that connected to your belt. So you hit one radio, well, you don't know if you even heard that, but it did actually vibrate. It's not all that powerful. It'd be nice if you could set that. Maybe you could have a few more vibrations, especially if you've got it on a belt. Might not pick that up. So looking around the radio itself, we have a monitor and scan feature. First press sets the radio into scan mode, and I assume if we press it again, yeah, it stops back to channel 1. If we hold this down, it will go into monitor mode, so we can check the channel is clear. Just turn the volume up so we can hear that. That's fine. I normally prefer the type that is a one press. If you just do a one press, it stays on monitor mode. You don't have to hold it down, but it is what it is. Then we have this call feature here, which communicates between the two radios. And it does last a long time. Normally you get a few bleeps. This one does tend to go on a bit. You have to press it again to stop. So no one could certainly deny that you weren't calling them. Below the call button, we have the menu button. Now, what I'm going to say is, it's nice you've got a very chunky PTT for wearing gloves, because if you are going to use this outdoors, but these buttons are really quite small when I look at them. They would be a little bit tricky to wear using gloves, especially as you have to press that menu button every time you wanted to change channel. The up and down buttons on the side are they're fine. So it's a little bit odd. It seems a shame they couldn't have made those a little bit thicker, a little bit easier to use, but it is what it is. So right, the menu button itself, first press goes into channel change mode. The second press is the little subcodes, the little kind of privacy codes, and then we go into the menu options themselves. It's not too complicated, this radio. So, okay, we have a power option here. So it's on low power, and if we can change this to high power, so there must be no, that's set. So that's set on the low power, so there must be an FCC version of this radio which allows higher power. That's a shame. Shame we can't boost it up a little bit. Oh, let's go back into there. So yeah, these are basically all your menu options. You've got voice activated control. I'm sure you can turn the key beep off. You've got the Roger beep there if you wish to switch that on and off. And then that's the vibration control, which we've got switched on. So fairly basic. Just wish maybe those buttons were a little bit easier to use. And then the only other final button, which I suppose a bit of press, is the SOS button. I believe on the American version, if you hold this button down, it goes to the weather channels, which is quite useful. We don't get that in the UK. If I hold this one down, we do get a siren. Let me show you that. Okay, that's quite annoying. It does come out on the other radio as well. You've got that police siren. I suppose if you're in desperate trouble, someone else will know if they're holding the other radio. No LED light, you notice as well, which is, again, a little odd. Being an outdoor radio, I would have thought that it would have benefited from a powerful LED torch light. It's a bit strange they haven't included that. going to conduct just a basic transmission test now. I'm really interested in how the speaker sounds. Unfortunately, I live in a very built-up area, so you don't get a great deal of range out of these legal PMR radios, especially the ones with the shorter antennas. Assuming you'll be taking these outside on your travels, if you're in the great expanse, the great outdoors, you should get a couple of kilometres out of these radios, maybe just over a mile. In a built-up area, it drastically reduces, probably around about half a mile, 400, 500, 600 metres, something like that. Anyway, we'll leave one radio in the shack, and then we'll just pop out, put some infrastructure between the two radios, and we'll see how it comes back, and hopefully we won't get any interference. So here we go. We're going a little bit out into the wild for this one, but I'm not that far from the home shack. Just a few rows of houses between the radios, just enough to block the signal. So let's see how well the radio does getting back to the house. Audio test 1 2. Audio test 1 2. 1 2 audio. 1 2 3 4. Audio test 1 2 3 4 audio. Just want to do one more test then, as it is a rugged outdoor radio. Just going to do a drop test, a bit tough, but straight onto concrete there, and just see if there's any damage. Tiny bit on the side there. Seems to work fine. Do it one more time. Caught on the side there. Bit of a scratch. So yeah, as I suspect, just a little bit of a scratch, which rubs off actually on the rubberized coating. So yeah, it's a very tough radio. Certainly if you're an outdoors type workman, or maybe just a little bit heavy-handed with things, seems to work really well. Anyway, let's get back up in the shack for the final conclusion. Final conclusions then, good points, bad points. Well, the good point obviously is the toughness. I mean, I dropped that twice on the concrete. It's not even left a mark on the radio, so yeah, that is really good. I also like the very large rubber PTT button on the front of the radio. If you're wearing gloves, that works really well. If you've perhaps got arthritis and you haven't got the pressure to push on the side, again, you could use both fingers really on that. It's big enough. Like that about the radio. A couple of things I found a bit weird in the review, especially as these are supposed to be a sort of outdoor radio. First one is the IP rating, by the way. The IP rating, they're 67. I did say 64, so they're even more waterproof than I thought. But yeah, they lack a flashlight. There's space at the bottom here. You could have got a 2 LED flashlight in there, but they lack a flashlight, which is a little bit odd if you're going to take these camping or something. And then likewise, that nice big chunky PTT, but the menu button is quite small. You almost need to use your nail to push that in. Again, I think they could have been made a bit chunkier, so you could use those with gloves. Like the fact that when you went in the menu system, there was a low power, maybe a high power option, but no programming cable, so you can't put this into chirp. So you do have to program your channel privacy codes. You have to do it sort of manually, but you only have to do it once if you like. Would have been nice, maybe, if they did have the standard Kenwood port on the side and we could have got that little bit extra juice out of them. But there you go. So yeah, overall, if you're looking for a tough radio that you're afraid that you might drop and break, these ones certainly fit the bill. And yeah, nothing wrong with them at all. Okay, there you go. These were sent in via RETEVIS. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go away and check them out yourself, but they're not that expensive. As always, there's the thumbs up from Fred in the Shed. Thank you for viewing in. I do appreciate your view time. And yeah, as always, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.